are going to start with the Irish Independent this morning. Title can't mask Tribes, Jekyll and Hyde. So this is the fact that they weren't very good in the first half, but also the fact that the game was in the Hyde. So there you go. They had the Jekyll and Hyde headline ready to go, and they weren't going to blow it just because Galway came good in the second half.
Yeah, I thought they were referring to Dr. Jekyll Park there for a while.
Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, you're right, sorry. Big guns failed to fire. Germany and Brazil left licking their wounds. Brazil aren't licking their wounds. Brazil are like, okay, slow start. We'll roar into this, don't worry about it.
Like, Switzerland are ranked 6th in the world, and Neymar wasn't good. 1-1 isn't bad.
Are they 6th in the world?
Yeah, they are.
Why?
Because they've got a very functional way of getting results in important games.
Right.
And maybe they do that thing that Wales did where they doped their rankings by not playing a single friendly match.
How did they do in the Euros?
How did they do in the Euros? We had this, like, we didn't even remember one of the Euro semi-finals last week when we were having this conversation. So how did Switzerland get on? Did they get dumped out by a Hungary or something in the group stages? I'm pretty sure they had a fairly desperate Euros, from what I recall.
I do Euro 2014 Switzerland, and they give me a conversion of...
Well, considering there was no Euros in 2014, the fact that you managed to get a result for that is impressive in itself. It should just flash up on Google, what the hell are you doing?
Albania...
Oh, that was a good group with Albania.
They went out on penalties to Poland.
Ah, yes, and then Poland got knocked out by Portugal in the following round.
All right, so...
Not great.
Not like... You know, but...
Not 6th in the world good.
Did Portugal hammer Poland?
I'm trying to remember. It wasn't. It wasn't.
Okay, this is great. We'll anyway. So they were in the Euros, but there's no way they should be top 6. McGrath rethink Waterford boss may yet stay on after last year. That's not actually going to happen. It looks like the Examiner have a tiny little box inside the paper today saying that he told the team last night in the dressing room that he was going. So we'll get clarity on that, I'd say, as the day progresses. But most of the newspapers generally think that McGrath is staying on, except the Examiner, who have like one line, and later on in the paper they have a McGrath is. Not staying on, sorry, but that he was not going to make his announcement for a little while. Tony Ward, the most complete performance of the season, lays the pathway to Japan. We will talk with Alan Quinlan live from, I think he might still be in Melbourne, or at least on his way to Sydney, where the final test, the deciding test in the 3-test series, is going to be held. Hurdle cleared, Banner blitz Limerick to set up Munster final with Cork. So they've got in-depth coverage of the Munster Hurling Championship, obviously, as you'd expect. Great stuff in that as well. Good piece from Brian Gavin in there today with a very interesting line about, we've been talking about the umpires and how the umpires are basically teamed up with the referees, but the referee picks them, so they're his mates, as opposed to being inter-county referees. And a big play was made at the time of the umpiring issues around the Waterford game in particular, of the fact that training is offered to umpires. And he says, the question has to be asked, what are the GAA doing to improve umpires? I know for a fact they haven't been brought in as a group this year. You might even have to go back as far as 2016 for the last time they were summoned to Croke Park. The last time any umpires were given guidance was for last year's All-Ireland semi-finals, when the referees in question had their assistants briefed by the refereeing authorities. Not enough training for umpires is being done because it isn't available. Nobody is doing video analysis with them. It's not a case of getting on these fellas' backs, because every weekend they're giving up to 10 hours, 8 to 10 hours of their day, which is fair enough. They're genuine GAA people and everybody says that. And what can a linesman or an umpire actually tell a referee? There are mixed messages about whether they have the power to recommend to a referee that they should award a free. There is just too much of a grey area. This is Brian Gavin, who has refereed All-Ireland finals. He doesn't know what the power of the linesman and the umpires is.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, something is seriously wrong.
Something is seriously wrong, but also I know this is kind of taking this conversation a little bit away from umpires, but if you look at the pause that you had in that game yesterday between Clare and Limerick before the double red card, that pause is kind of the antithesis to what people would say is the reason why you would have video refereeing in GAA. And
to slow down.
Exactly. That took forever, and you don't get an accurate answer. Why not just have somebody who's literally watching it from a box in Croke Park and is just saying to the ref, listen, this is what happened, make the decision now. And if you want to consult the umpires as well, you can consult the umpires. If you want to have a screen on the side of the pitch, like they have in the World Cup, or like they have in the NBA, or like they have in the NFL, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and take a look at it, because it's going to slow the whole thing down anyway. You've got two umpires who've been given no training, who quite often haven't really seen it, but you've got to stand there and you've got to make a decision there and then. And we've seen disastrous calls being made down through the years. Yesterday, the David Reedy sending off was an absolute disgrace of a call from the refereeing point of view. And I just don't see what is, like, why there would be no reason to bring this thing in, bar the kind of disposal of a few extra resources. Why not bring in video refereeing at the very top level?
Like, it makes perfect sense. But the fact that one of our most prominent integrated referees doesn't know whether or not he's actually allowed to take, that's a recommendation for free. It's like, are you allowed to tell me that's free?
That's bizarre, isn't it? Like, you would like to think that you are allowed to take the recommendations because referees have been doing it for as long as I can remember. But the fact that he doesn't know if that's actually a directive that you're allowed to kind of take part in or not is very, very strange.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, so here, McGrath will need more time to consider the role. That's the back of the Times Ireland edition. Big guns misfire in the openers. Germany beaten, Brazil joined Spain and Argentina in dropping points. I mean, that was the kind of most interesting part about this, really. It was like those four teams, only France with the proper big guns have actually won, and they were not impressive.
No.
In their 2-1 victory required. Was that penalty dodgy or was it a good penalty?
No, that was good. Like, who was on? Mark Lawrenson was on co-commentary for the BBC and lost his shit over like the VAR. It was almost as if he knew it was going to go to VAR because he was like, great tackle, brilliant tackle, the best tackle I've ever seen in the world. You'll never see a better tackle than that. And I was like, oh no, he's not going to ruin this by looking at the screen, which will give him more accurate, up-to-date information so that he can be 100% sure in his decision, is he? And lo and behold, it wasn't a great tackle. Sure, he got some of the ball, but he also got more of the man. It was a stonewall penalty, and VAR has improved football to no end. I don't see how any of the detractors can stand by their initial opinion that VAR hasn't made football better. It's absolutely improved things, and sure, you can kind of use the stick to beat it with it. It's not perfect yet and it needs tweaking. Of course it does, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't have been brought in. But yeah, back to your original point, it was a penalty, it was scored. And
that was the Mexican grandmother again.
Well, there you go. She's having kind of weird effects in the studio now as well this morning.
Any other weekend, we would be like spending a good 20 minutes on any other Monday. England stuck with expensive Jones. Eddie Jones. Eddie Jones. Eddie Jones. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Very aggressive line of question there, isn't it? Well, Eddie, you're notoriously one of the most aggressive people in world rugby, and you can't take it up yet. So, tough luck, Eddie. It seems like he's on borrowed time as England head coach at the moment. The RFU are laying a bunch of people off, and it would cost them £1 million apparently to sack him at the moment. But the conversation is about him getting sacked. He's lost 5 in a row. You would expect them to be able to perhaps turn it around against the Springboks next week and arrest the slump. But if he doesn't, it's a long time before the November series. No doubt they have a gimme in their schedule along the way, so they'll arrest that at some point. But you look at South Africa and see how quickly it's possible for a good coach to turn things around by picking the best available players.
What was it about Eddie Jones that made him so sensationally good last year? Was it fear? Was it novelty?
All the good work Stuart Lancaster had done?
Potentially.
Who knows?
Or is this a blip and a blip only? And it does seem that there's something far deeper rooted. There's an arrogance about this England team which isn't warranted at the moment. When Youngs walked off from the Sky Sports interview on Saturday, it was comically arrogant. It was David Brent arrogant. It was absolutely hilarious, and I'm delighted it happened because the mask has slipped well and truly to the point where the mask isn't going to fit back on to Eddie Jones or to this England team.
They're laying off a lot of people in the RFU at the moment. That's why they have those financial issues. But you would expect them to have pulled the trigger. The last time somebody lost 6 games in a row was Andy Robinson. Straight away, got the bullet. Right, so the Irish Times sports section, delusional optimism for England curdles to fatalism, is the headline over Ken Early's piece. Sophistication undone by passion. Germany 0, Mexico 1. Ireland prepared for one last push as they eye the prize. That's the Ireland tour to Australia. Jerry Thornley in Sydney talking about that one. Done the Examiner for you. And the Racing Post. Lovely Lawrence, Burke ace in classic swoop. John Dance hailed Lawrence as a superstar after his brilliant filly, trained by Carl Burke, dug deep to fight off all challengers under PJ McDonald to win the Prix de Diane at Chantilly yesterday. And then Fiesta time, because it is Fiesta football.
On the back of the Herald this morning, it's Love saying, "We won't panic. Holders Germany and favourites Brazil struggle." Also, Kane's able for World Cup stage, and it's Tunisia versus England this evening. It kicks off at 7 o'clock Irish time. Joy of Mex, holders hit by Lozano's low blow. Nay joy for Brazil, and Tribes 8 ball there on the football, and Clare to review. Reedy red, as they should. That's Shane Stapleton's story there, that David Reedy's red card is looking to be overturned by the Clare camp. They should have him back for the Munster final, because that was a disgraceful decision yesterday. On the back of the Sun, it is Swiss blank account. Neymar kept quiet as Swiss shock him, and like a chat out of hell, halftime team talk sparks Galway blitz. Tab of the morning to you indeed. On the back page of the Irish Daily Mail, it's Tribes stand, Galway fight back after Walsh's rally cry fires up the troops, and agony for the big boys. It's Brazil 1, Switzerland 1, and Germany 0, Mexico 1 in the 2018 World Cup. On the back page of the Mirror, it is Kevin and Hell. Walsh says the Tribe inspired by the 2017 flop. That's Roscommon 2-6, Galway 16 points at Dr. Hyde Park there yesterday. And then a couple of the UK titles. The back page of The Guardian is New Look England. Southgate preaches boldness and flair as Tunisia test looms. You've also got Lozano there celebrating with his teammate as Mexico beat Germany 1-0. And then finally, the front page rather of the Daily Telegraph sports section is Harry Kane saying, "This is my time. Captain targets World Cup triumph, golden boot and a hat-trick, just like Ronaldo."
OTB